Well, this is going to take some getting used to. Joe Flacco is a Cleveland Browns quarterback. Adam Schefter tweeted out yesterday after the win that the Browns are going to sign Flacco to their practice squad. So keep an eye on that move to become official in a few hours. But we're going to break down what this means for Flacco and what this means for DTR moving forward. Now, before we get into all that stuff, make sure to hit that sub button. We are trying to reach 28,300 subscribers off of today's video. So 35 of you that have not subscribed yet, consider going ahead and doing so for the best free Browns content. So let's dive into this now. A couple of thoughts I have right off the bat here. Joe Flacco is not signing to be a mentor. I just do not believe Flacco wants to come join a team in November just to ride the bench and sit in cold Cleveland every single week if there is no real chance of him going out to play. So remove that idea from your head. I don't think Flacco is joining just for film reviews and weekly meetings to help DTR get ready every single week. I also don't think this guarantees a change at quarterback, right? I saw a lot of chatter online after the win yesterday that, well, DTR, thank you for the one win. I hope you enjoyed it, but you're done. We got to go to Flacco ASAP. No. And I got a couple of thoughts on why that is the case. Big thought is this. If the plan all along was to sign Joe Flacco and have him take over from DTR after a week, maybe two max, then why not roll with PJ Walker, right? PJ Walker was your reliever. He was your intermediate quarterback when Watson was week to week. The moment Watson went to IR, we all decided, well, if we need a new starting quarterback for the rest of the year, let's see what DTR has. But if the plan was to just move on from DTR after a week or two, wouldn't you continue with PJ Walker, who has been that 1 week quarterback at a time? No, the Browns went with DTR because they believed he could be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. So adding Flacco, in my eyes, gives you some insurance where if something were to happen to DTR, you have another backup quarterback in place. Or if DTR does not play well, sure, you can make a quarterback change. But by no means do I believe this guarantees Joe Flacco becomes the starting quarterback on Sunday in Denver or next Sunday against the Rams. I think it's going to be a week-to-week situation. But I'm just going to say pump the brakes on signing Flacco equals him becoming a starter no matter what. I understand that DTR did not necessarily shine in the win over Pittsburgh, completed 55% of his passes, 165 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. And ultimately, him leading the Browns to 13 points was not very inspiring, let's be honest here. But unpopular opinion, I don't think DTR gets benched after that game. I don't think that performance against Pittsburgh warrants a benching. For starters, the route concepts and the overall game plan did not include many vertical passes. Now, I'm not quite sure if that was DTR just not wanting to take those shots down the field and they were there, or if it was Kevin Stefanski just not dialing up and calling plays that asked for DTR to push the ball down the field. I think DTR's longest completion was to Elijah Moore on that final game-winning drive of 15 yards. So I understand that the Browns' offense got very predictable in the second half. I mean, Cleveland let the cat out of the bag in the first half. They wanted to run the football, and the Browns only rushed for 31 yards in the second half and 96 yards total. And of those 31 yards, about half of it came from Kareem Hunt's hurdle on that one play. So a 3.3 average does not give you a big vote of confidence that this team can run the football well with DTR if defenses expect short, intermediate passes and start stacking the box. But ultimately, I did not walk away from that game. And again, maybe it's just me, but I'll just say it out loud because maybe some people are with me thinking DTR was a disaster. He was a deer in headlights. We need to get a new starting quarterback ASAP and get him ready for week 12 in Denver. No, I think what we saw to DTR was, in my eyes, what you should expect out of a rookie quarterback making his first true start. I know he started last time against the Ravens, but that was a game that just should be forgotten all about together. 90 minutes notice. This time, DTR has a full week of practice, and he goes out there and, sure, it wasn't a thrilling offensive performance, but he led them down the field when it matters most. He pulled off a game-winning drive. And I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of Browns players in that locker room if the Browns win on Sunday in Denver and are 2-0 with DTR in the last 2 weeks that go, can we change our starting quarterback, please? Right? I think you might see the Browns team rally around their starting quarterback and not want Flacco coming in and taking the job from him just because DTR isn't showing you what you want to see, despite him being a rookie quarterback and it being really his second true start in my eyes against the Broncos if he does end up starting this Sunday. I also want to add DTR did not get a ton of help. Like, he got some good plays out of his receivers, but even David Njoku could acknowledge he was not playing his best football, right? He tweeted out after the game, great team win, but that shit was unacceptable. I got to do better. Thankful for my brothers for fighting till the end. 1-0. What do you mean 1-0? The Browns are 7-3. What's he confused about? Oh, I think he's talking about like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, or just the Browns being 1-0, taking it week by week. So I don't think this locker room comes out of this game thinking, okay, can we get a new starting quarterback? 17 sucks. No, 17 led them down the field for a game-winning drive. Have a little bit of patience. And unfortunately, the Browns don't have a ton of time to be patient, which is why they might pull the plug on DTR a little bit quicker if this was, say, week 1 or week 2. But I'll also add that Joe Flacco, and we'll look at his stats in a moment, I don't think comes in here riding a big, shiny white horse and playing tremendous football in the last half decade or so. Guy kind of stunk it up, right? I mean, we all saw him at the end of Baltimore, in Denver, and with the Jets. Nothing from those years made me think, now that's a guy I want starting for my team in 2023. So before we talk more about Flacco and ultimately who I think should start and will start, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Thank you, Prize Picks, for making some of the most fun football games I have seen and been a part of the last couple of weeks, because I'm winning up to 25 times my money this season. Here's how Prize Picks works. You select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. So for for Monday Night Football, here's who I am rolling with in a Super Bowl rematch. I'm taking the more on Isaiah Pacheco's rushing yards at 48.5. He's a good running back. That's a low number. I like the more. I also like the more on Sky Moore, mostly because of his last name. Just feels too natural. But a low receiving yards at 16.5. I just need like 1 or 2 grabs, and we got that in the bag. And then more on Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce combining for a half a touchdown, a.k.a. Travis scores 1 touchdown, which you know he will. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link for that is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Flacco now, right? Last year with the Jets, he had, of course, the miraculous comeback week 2 in Cleveland. Made 5 appearances, 4 starts, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Honestly, was the best quarterback on that roster looking back, as everyone was still holding out hope that Zach Wilson would be good. And I bet if the Jets just rolled with Flacco all season, they would have won more games. But look at Flacco's numbers from 2019 to 2022. Basically, post-Baltimore. 4,000 yards, 3-14 record, 20 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. I don't think the 3-4 record is entirely fair. For starters, wins are not necessarily a quarterback stat. 2, he played on a bad Broncos team, played on some bad Jets teams. So I don't think that 3 wins represents what he was able to do. I think it's more of an indictment on what Denver and what New York was able to do with him at quarterback. Here's my prediction. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson will start this Sunday in Denver, week 12. I think adding Flacco on Monday and asking him to start on Sunday is just going to lead to a bad performance altogether. Whereas with DTR, when same goes for PJ Walker, like the Browns have seen, they can carve out a path with consistent quarterback play, whether that's good or bad, it might as well be consistent. But great defense, great special teams, and then just gut out another close win. Now, it's hard to win those one-score games often, but I think for the short term here with DTR for this upcoming week, that probably makes the most sense. However, I do think if DTR does not play well in Denver against a Broncos defense that, yes, gave up 70 points to Miami, but quietly over the last 3 games, they've had 12 takeaways. They're averaging 4 takeaways a game. A little bit scary going up against a Cleveland Browns team that is one of the league leaders in giveaways. So if DTR sucks it up in Denver against the Broncos, I think with 2 weeks preparation, we could see Joe Flacco take over in Week 13. But if you want one big Petey's take coming out of this video, it is this. Signing Joe Flacco does not immediately mean he starts against the Broncos. Doesn't even immediately mean he starts against the Rams. I think they are adding the best possible quarterback they could in free agency. They give himself a good backup plan in case DTR does not play well or an injury happens. But ultimately, if the plan all along was to go to Flacco after 1 or 2 DTR games, pretty much no matter what, well, then why not roll with PJ Walker? Because he had been your week-to-week quarterback earlier this year. And if you're going to say, well, PJ Walker sucked, that's why. Guys, we knew PJ Walker pretty much sucked going into the Seahawks game. He still started that game. So if that's the argument, I don't know why DTR didn't start in Seattle. But pick a quarterback for me. Who would you rather see start the rest of the way for Cleveland? Joe Flacco or Dorian Thompson-Robinson? We have seen Joe Flacco win a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl MVP. I'm a little bit hesitant on Joe Flacco joining the Browns in November I don't even know what this is for him, but definitely at the end of his career, just waltzing on in and looking like the guy that was lifting a Lombardi for Baltimore. I would hesitate you and say, pump the brakes. I think you should lower your expectations. Whereas DTR, I think it's going to get better and better by the week. And sure, it did not give us a very inspiring result in overall play in Week 11 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he went up against a good Steelers defense. In my eyes, his first NFL start. Let's not have crazy high expectations for him in Game 1. Let's see what he can do in at least 2-3 starts against the Broncos and the Rams, and then reassess after that, especially at that point with Flacco having 2 or 3 weeks of practice under his belt and knowing the playbook a lot better. Now, quick injury update before I let you guys go. Kevin Stefanski is going to talk to the media over Zoom at 12:30 Eastern Time, but he's going to definitely talk about Anthony Walker, who left the game with a hamstring injury, and Rodney McLeod, who left the game with an arm injury. It looked like a bicep. Now, he probably will come back and say, we got to get some arm MRIs. We don't quite know yet. But no matter what he says, I'm going to keep you guys updated with a short. So make sure you check out the short that will come out around 12:45 or so, right? I mean, he starts his press conference at 12:30, so give it 15 or so minutes, and I'll get you guys updated on what's going to happen with Walker and McLeod moving forward. Now, quick peek at the linebacker room for Cleveland. If Walker does miss some time, I think we're going to continue to see more nickel defense, right? More JOK and Taki. Tony Fields, likely the most logical candidate to replace Walker. Probably move Taki over to middle linebacker and move Tony Fields over to the outside linebacker position. I hope they can get Jordan Kunaszyk back. He was lost in the final preseason game with a knee injury, and I thought he'd be back after 4 or 5 weeks in the season. Here we are in November, and I don't know when we're going to get him back at all. Meanwhile, if Rodney McLeod does miss some serious time, well, hopefully Cleveland can get Juan Thornhill back after his calf injury. Grant Delpit, of course, remains, the true starter of the secondary or in the safety department. However, Ronnie Hickman was the first guy off the bench to replace Rodney McLeod. So if Juan Thornhill and McLeod both miss some time, expect Hickman and Delpit to be the starting safeties moving forward. So like I said earlier, check back for a short around 12:45 Eastern Time for an update on Walker and McLeod. I'll keep you guys posted. But if you enjoyed that win over the Steelers, spam FPIT down below in the comments section. In a couple of hours or so, I get to dunk some Gatorade on our Steelers Talk host, Jack Sperry. He bet me back on Monday that the Steelers would win, and he wanted to put a Gatorade bath on it. And even when Deshaun Watson went to IR, I didn't flinch. I didn't hesitate. I knew Myles Garrett would prove he's the best defensive end in the AFC North and altogether in football, period. TJ Watt was exposed as a fraud, going up against backup tackles, DeJuan Jones and James Hudson, and all he could get was one cleanup 2-yard sack. Yeah, no. It's Myles Garrett season, baby. Defensive Player of the Year, and maybe even NFL MVP. I didn't say it. No, I did. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. If you enjoyed our content, hit me up on Twitter at Matthew Petey. I'm always talking brownies over there. We're going to sign off and see you all later.